Hi, my name is Sam. I'm the owner of Professional Fleet. Today we're going to do a front brake repair. We're going to show you how to change brake pads and brake rotors, how to do it the correct way, the safe way, and have the best results. And we're going to start off by showing the basic tools required to do the job. Basic tools. Going to need a 3/8 drive ratchet. This one's going to require a 15mm socket, flat blade screwdriver. If you have air, use a 3/8 air ratchet. We're going to need probably a 14mm ratchet wrench, a pair of pliers, and our basic sockets. We'll use the 19mm to take the tire off, and we need a 14 and a 15mm to remove the bolts for the calipers. We'll also need a C-clamp to compress the piston on the brake caliper. And then if you have air, 3/8 drive or 1/2 inch air tool to remove the lug nuts. For the brakes, we also have a brake silicone to apply to the slides on the calipers. We have a Loctite to seal the threads, to save the threads so they don't come loose while you're driving on the road. And we have a brake spray we spray on the brake pads to help stop noises, squeaks, squeals, and rattles. And that pretty much covers the tools needed to do the job. Alright, brakes have been washed down. We're now going to remove the tire. Since we washed the water down on the rotors and pads, it'll eliminate the brake dust from blowing up when you use air tools. When using hand tools, it's not as big of a deal, but when using air tools, it'll blow the dust everywhere. So, tire off. Alright, so remove the tire, set that out of the way. And now we've exposed our brake system. We're going to start by removing the caliper, but we got to compress the piston so we get the caliper up. So we're going to use our C-clamp. Open it up. Crank it down. We're going to push the piston all the way back into the caliper housing, or as far as we can get it. Now, this should go back pretty smoothly without too much effort. If there is a lot of effort, it could be a bad caliper, and it's important that we know that ahead of time before we go back together. Alright, lever pushed back far enough. Turn the wheel and remove our caliper mount bolts, which are the 14mm. So we can either use a 14mm ratchet, or we can use a 3/8 drive ratchet instead of a 14mm wrench. We can use a 3/8 drive ratchet with a 14mm socket. Your choice. I prefer ratchet wrenches. They work great. They're quicker, faster, and do, I think, a better job. All right, so we got that one loose. Crack the bottom one loose. Remove the caliper. There's your caliper. Here's your brake pads. They sit down inside the mount. They mount onto the caliper mount. Set the pads aside. Next, we got to remove the caliper bracket. That's going to require a 3/8 drive ratchet and a 15mm socket, I believe. Bring the top bolt now. And there goes our bracket. Here's our caliper bracket. Alright, these are the slides. I'm going to pop these out. I'm going to check them, make sure they're clean, make sure there's no rust on them and no dirt that's got inside of them. If everything looks good, all we have to do then is use our brake silicone. And we'll do this right now since we got it apart. Just add some silicone to it. Either anti-seize or any brake silicone works great. I prefer silicone, it's cleaner and lasts longer. Those are back in. I'll just set that aside for now. We're ready to take our brake rotor off. And off comes our brake rotor. We use this to get rid of the oil substance that's put on these from the factory, why they sit in the box and why they're in shipment. They can get rust on them, moisture in them. The oil is used to keep the rust and moisture off. So we use the brake cleaner to remove that so the brakes don't smoke, and it allows the brakes to properly seat in to the new pads. Just want to clean that surface. That's good enough. Ensure we don't have squeaks or squeals or rattles from the brakes. Select a little extra insurance policy just to make sure the job's done right and less chance of having a problem. So spray that on. It's best to let it sit for a few minutes and harden, kind of firm up. So we can reassemble our rotor. Make sure everything fits good. Make sure that they're the same size as the one that came off. Here's our race drive ratchet and our 15 mil. Let's snug them up. Never tighten just one bolt. Always get them both evenly tightened down. Then go through and do your final tightening once you're done. So that one's now tight. This one here will be semi-tight. Now that that one there is semi-tight, we can lock this one down. Normally we use a torque wrench to do this, but because most people don't have a torque wrench in their garage, put the Loctite on. The Loctite will help save the threads and seal them and leave them locked in place. And put a nice good torque on that one. And then likewise on the bottom one. Those should be nice and tight. Now, grab our brake pads. Like I said, we've already applied our brake quiet spray to the back of them. And the sensor, one pad will have a little sensor on it, the other one will not. The sensor normally goes on the rear, behind the rotor, and faces upward. So, install that one. The one without the squealer sensor goes on the front pad, facing the front of the rotor. Lock those in place, slide them in. So we're trying to push the piston back in the caliper. Now make sure it goes back nice and smooth. It shouldn't be jerky, it shouldn't be tight. It should go back nice and fluid and smooth. If there's an issue where it's binding or sticking, the caliper needs to be replaced. Otherwise your brake pads will wear out within a few months, if not days. Very important that the calipers go back smoothly. Slide it on. And we'll grab our caliper bolts. Cone to the slide. Just get a nice decent amount on there. Not too much, but enough it's going to last 20-30,000 miles. And then I like to put a little bit inside the caliper housing as well, just to make sure. And we're going to lock them down. It's a nice decent snug, works good. No reason to overdo them. And they're tight. Now we're straighten the wheel back out. Double check we are not missing any bolts or having leftover parts we shouldn't have. And that concludes our front brake repair.